Okay, we got to talk about something. We got to talk about your mental health in your job search because a lot of you are spending way too much time on your job search with seeing little to zero results, and it starts to play mental gymnastic tricks on you. So, there's a couple of things we want to be quite mindful of. We want to be mindful of how much time we spend on our job search. We want to be mindful of the effects it has, understanding what resources we truly have in our job search and how to really career through them, pardon the pun. We have to take care of ourselves in this tough time when looking for a job. Job searching can be very mentally taxing. It could generate quite a lot of issues, imposter syndrome, low confidence, sometimes even trauma. So we have to first step back to know that it's okay to job search. It's okay to look for a role. It's okay to be rejected by companies. It doesn't mean you're not going to get a job. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It's just a tough job market, and we need to know what we can do to better look after ourselves and to make sure that we find the right company for us. Because on the flip side, you could have a really short job search and a very quote unquote fruitful experience, get into a company that isn't the right fit. And then that's a lot worse than actually job searching because getting into the wrong company not only pushes you back, but actually costs you more mental health and time and money and resources that you might not have at the moment. So, in this video, I wanted to kind of use that as a bit of a pit stop to tell you it's okay to be in your job search. It's okay to take time. It's okay to be rejected and to have these, thoughts of imposter syndrome and thoughts of, is this going to work out for me? Everybody's going through it in different levels. I speak to a lot of job seekers. I probably speak to about 45, 50 people every single day. The majority of them have a challenge. The majority of them go through imposter syndrome, low confidence, rejections. They get to a point where they get to the final stage. They hear the rejection of, we just found another candidate who just had more experience. And they feel completely hopeless. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are things that you can do. I'm going to use this video in a sort of less structured way than I normally do. I mean, these videos are technically me just talking into the camera. But I thought it was important to create something like this because I find myself more in a position of and I'm not a psychologist, by the way, nor am I a life coach, but I find myself in this position where I'm speaking to people about their psychological state in the same level that I'm speaking to them about their job search, because a lot of people go through a tough time. Now, what I usually say to job seekers is you have two resources every single day and they replenish every day. And you're probably going to say, well, it's just time, right? It's time and energy. You have two resources every single day that you need to look after: time and energy. So think of time units and energy units. How you use this time and energy depends on who you are as a person, what job you're going for, and obviously, how you react to certain things happening in your job search. So let's look at time. The average job seeker spends 11 and a half hours per week looking for a job, whether that's a full-time job, a part-time job, a job just to get, money in, or your career. They spend about 11 and a half hours, which I think is quite a bit of time. I think spending 1 hour a day is a healthy amount of time, Monday to Friday, and the occasional maybe, follow-up message, email over the weekend is okay. But I think 1 hour per day seems to be pretty healthy. There are people that spend 5, 6 hours per day. One of my students, in fact, who's doing exceptionally well with his job search, who spent about 7, 8 hours a day, sometimes 5 or 6 hours, but 7 or 8 was the kind of nominal amount of time. Did really well to secure 5 interviews, but then didn't attend any of them. So 5 interviews with 5 great companies that he wanted to work for and just didn't attend. So I found this out by actually giving him a call because I knew the 5 interviews were happening and he wanted to catch up at the end of the week. And so I was really excited and I called him up. So I was like, okay, so which company is going to give us the offer? Which one did you like? And then he said, well, Milo, I didn't really attend any of them. And to my shock, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it at all. So I asked, why? What was the main reason for not attending? I didn't believe in, if I'm being brutally honest. And he said, I just feel completely burnt out. I could not, for the life of me, want to go. I did not want to go. I could not muster up the energy. The confidence was at an all-time low. I had imposter syndrome. I got rejected for all my other interviews, so I just thought it was going to happen again. for these 5. So when you think 5 interviews set up when the guy was barely getting any interviews in 3 or 4 months. So I started really taking a deeper interest into the psychology of a person when they're job searching. What needs to be done, what needs to be focused on. And I realized that people are very different. Some people can only spend half an hour a day before they feel burnout symptoms. Other people can do 6 hours a day and they're completely fine. Some people look for jobs that require a lot of experience, and they have that experience. Other people get into jobs that probably look like they require a lot of experience, but they don't, and they're hiring on personality, or they're just hiring on you having the right company culture fit, or the soft skills, or whatever it is. And then I realized that when I'm giving advice to people, that I have to be very mindful, as I usually am, in terms of what their goals are and how much time and energy they have and what their rejection level is, because some people just can't handle rejection. Some people can. It's not a problem at all. So I guess the reason I'm sort of making this video is not to go off on too much of a tangent, but to tell you it's okay to have a tough time in your job search. It's just really a sign for you to reassess and reorganize. So with this particular candidate, what I did was we reorganized our job search, where we eliminated, firstly, the time issue. 6, 7, 8 hours a day. It's way too much. We can't do that. And that was the reason, no matter how good your job search is, spending 8 hours, you get those interviews, you don't want to go, there's no point. You're wasting your time. So what we did was we limited it down to 1 hour per day, non-negotiable. It gets to 1 hour, you switch off your LinkedIn tab, you do not use Read or Indeed, you stop sending messages and emails. If somebody sends you an email, you just respond the next day, super diligent to be 1 hour and focused on that 1 hour per day. Now that followed by energy units, which is the energy you give. When you get a great email, you also have a dopamine kind of spike, right? If you get a rejection, you get a little bit of a cortisol injection. So you have to be mindful of the stuff that's happening to you. Now, you don't have to be a neuroscientist. You just have to kind of go with your gut feeling of recognizing your emotions through this time. So what we did was we limited to 1 hour, and then we really were super stoic with rejection and good messages. So I said, no matter how many good messages you get, treat them the same as a bad message, and the bad message, treat that like it's the middle. So no emotions at all. Obviously easier said than done, but when you have a good message like, hey, your profile's great, let's do an interview, and hey, you're just not good enough for us because we found someone else who's better, limit them and bust them into the same type of basket of feeling, if you will. Easier said than done. I get that completely. But it was something that we did. And then what the candidate realized, I won't say his name, but he's a great candidate. I consider him a friend. We talk probably about 3 times a week now, and he's doing really well. He's got a couple of offers, and we're laughing about how much time he actually spent on his job search, even before speaking to me, and then after speaking to me, and then after the change as well, in terms of just spending 1 hour a day. But what he realized was spending 1 hour a day, he felt really good about his job search. He had time to spend with his friends and family without feeling guilty, because he recognized that spending 8 hours a day actually cost him more. It cost him regret not going to those 5 interviews. So what we have to talk about now is your mindset when it comes to actually doing interviews and job searching and actually reacting to good and bad news in your job search. If you get we're pleased to announce you have an interview with us email, and then unfortunately you haven't been successful email, I want you to treat them the same way. It's just data without emotions and time being affected in the least possible way, which is you read it, you stack it, and then you think, okay, that's great, that's not bad, whatever, middle, stoicism. You will do yourself a big favor in terms of actually enjoying your life while you're job searching, and also having enough energy to do the interview that you're putting the time and effort in to do the job search. Okay, I hope that makes sense, because it's super important that we get this right. Your mindset will play tricks on you in your job search, because you'll see a lot of great news and then it kind of slows down and you have to wait for employers to come back to you. So it's sort of like a roller coaster ride. It's very cyclical. You do an interview, you feel that it goes well. Unfortunately, you haven't been successful, and you think, well, hang on, the interviewer really liked me, everything was going great. Then you get an unfortunately you haven't been successful email, then a recruiter ghosts you, and then you're like, oh, just when I thought things were going really well, nothing's happening. So for that very reason, you want to manage your emotions. Because what happens if you have three bad interviews and then the dream company calls you and you're a perfect fit, but you don't show up, or but your energy is like 50% of where it should be because you haven't managed your time? So I guess a takeaway that I want to be able to quite freely impart on you is time, and having like a non-negotiable in how much time you spend on your job search. You watching this right now, you might be a student, you might be a job switcher, you might be unemployed, and you're like, hey Milo, with all due respect, like I've got 8 hours every day, I don't mind. I'll spend a full time of work to try to find work. I'll spend 8 hours a day, no problem. And that's fine. If you can do it, great. I don't want to limit you to that extent, but I want you to recognize that if you are feeling like my job search is taking a mental toll on me, it's a warning sign from your body and from your brain. Let's just call it what it is. It is a bit of a warning sign to slow down. Um, the brain can play a lot of tricks on you, especially with your job search and the time you spend, and having like high hopes for something, and then nerves kick in, and your nerves kick in higher than they normally would because you feel burnt out, or you have so much emphasis on the amount of time you spend in your job search that it gets to that interview and you think, oh, what if I fail this interview? I spent 15 hours in the last 3 days to try and get this, and I finally have it. And then it's just that extra layer of stress. So spending 1 hour a day, spending the energy units. So I want you to imagine that your energy is like tokens. You have like 25 tokens in a day. You read an email, you can spend 1 token to get really excited. You could get super excited about the email. You spend 3 tokens. It's still one email, right? You get really excited and happy and start wondering like, oh, what if this is the one? And that's great to get excited and be happy. But equally on the flip side, if you get a bad email and you lose 3 tokens of energy, what's the point? You're going to get loads of bad emails. You just have to manage your time and your energy, where you can be in a position where a better way to think about this actually is a pipeline. You want to have a pipeline of things happening where you don't have to worry about how much time or energy you're spending, but you're regulating it. Where if you get bad news, it doesn't affect you as much because you've got like another 5 or 6 interviews, because you've managed your time so well and your energy so well that interviews are starting to happen pretty easily and pretty quickly, which goes on a different tangent in terms of having a strategy to not only manage your time and energy well, but to know where you're spending that energy and time. So if you're applying for 10 jobs a day and you're hoping for the best and it takes you 2 hours of your time, and then you've got the highs and lows of like the emails in between, and sometimes you got an interview and then you don't do anything, or nothing happens, sorry, time and energy wasted. But if you start reaching out to people who work in these companies that you want to work for, then you've got a more directed strategy with that time and energy. So you know what you can do. I hope that makes sense, because I think a lot of people that I speak to, they just feel completely drained of their energy. Their confidence is knocked. So I think having that strategy to know what companies you should focus on, how much resources you're spending on your job search is incredibly important. It's super underrated because you think, there's a lot of hustle culture, I guess, when you're job searching. It's like, hey, I'm not employed. I need a job. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's great, but it's not sustainable. You're not going to do that for 3-4 weeks. You're going to do that for a week. You're going to get some bad news. You're going to go out. You need to pick up your kids from school, depending if you've got kids. You get into an argument with a good friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is. These things have an impact on your mental health and your job search. Your job search, I feel, finds a way to kind of get to the raw essence of, your energy and your time. Okay, I hope this makes sense, because I wanted to do a video like this where, well, firstly, I wanted to highlight that it's okay to have a tough time in your job search. Trust me, you're not alone. A lot of people are going through a really tough time. Like, they wake up on a Monday morning really early. They have 17, unfortunately, who haven't been successful emails. Then they have that pit in their stomach of thinking like, oh, I've got another day of this. Like, what's the point? I'm just getting rejection. Like, the UK job market, the US job market, every job market on the planet seems to be really bad. And it's like, why is this happening? A little bit of a sneak peek of why I do this in my other videos, but there's too many people applying. So it's just market saturation. That's all it is. Now, yes, there are more specialized roles than others. Some require a lot of experience, more than you probably have, and that's fine. But there are other roles that allow you to build that experience. Everybody who has experience right now generated that experience from somewhere. You just have to get really creative in how you can sell yourself to these companies, but not at the expense of your mental health. Because if your mental health goes, you're not going to perform in your interviews. Companies are not going to hire you. They're going to see a different version of you. Like this person's tired. They're not excited. You might really want to work for that company, but you don't show that energy because you just haven't managed your psychology, your time, your energy well. And firstly, I think it's really important to know that it's okay. Like it's completely fine to be in this position. It's probably a blessing more than anything, because now you know that I'm going to take my time. I'm going to kind of pause. I'm going to reassess the amount of time and energy I spend so I can look after my psychology. So I want you to think about that. And look, reach out to me or my team. We're happy to help. We will give you a strategy of what we think would work for you. I'm going to leave a link in the comments, which is a free job search masterclass. It's 22 and a half minutes long, I think. Watch it. I know you're going to love it. If you got to this stage of the actual video, firstly, thank you. I really appreciate your time. If you like and subscribe, it costs you nothing, but it kind of gives me a lot. So you give me the confidence, the energy, and the time to actually want to spend on these videos, to come up with new ideas, to give you a little bit of motivation and just my view of the job search market. And without further ado, I'll let you get on to the next video, but like and subscribe. Thank you.